Back in the cave, the man cave. I'm filthy. Just went out and restocked all the burning branches out there in my fire out back from all the trees. My friend, my logger buddy, came and chopped down for us. He also just got back from Mexico guiding marlin. And huge tuna, brought us back some tuna, and he brought this back for me to put in the man cave. Some cool Mexican leatherwork rifle scabbard. Pretty cool, eh? It's very kind of him to bring that all the way back from Mexico to throw down in the cave. The man cave. So right where I'm sitting, and just so you guys know, all the stuff that I threw up on the walls here, I just threw it up on the wall without much reason or rhyme to it, just to get it off the ground, get it out of the way. And then, but how it's looking so far is this whole corner right here is possibly going to be made into the podcast corner. This is where we'll be talking live with real people about sharing real knowledge. So it'll be interesting to see how it comes to fruit as all this work continues to get done. But I won't be able to get to this until I get the rest of the walls, the outside done. Then I got to hook up that wood stove again to the chimney up here, get that cooking, and then there's going to be a guest room set up right there for those people who do come here to speak with me and all you, and they can as well be sleep in comfort and safety here in the shop, or whatever you want to call it. It's turning into something else. It's been a lot of hard work. I'm too stubborn to hire somebody to do all this. I do it all myself. But anyway, it's the same day. Same day is it's the same day right now as the recording on the river, but now I'm back home and it's the evening, and I'm going to keep it going. So if you understand why I'm still here and I haven't started my trek across Canada yet, yesterday's video has the explanation for that, but it's coming, believe me. Now, what do we got here? This is titled Bigfoot Government Overreach. Hello, bow hunter. Yes, there are, or at least were, Bigfoot/forest people in the woods. Why they want to keep it a secret is beyond me, but they really want to keep it a secret. I saw a Sasquatch for the first time back in '76 in the Kentucky foothills near my grandma's house. The motorcycle I was riding died on the way home to my grandma's from a great uncle Herman's house, so I had to walk the rest of the way before it got pitch black under the canopy of the trees. I heard someone walking back in the woods paralleling me, so I stopped and yelled for them to cut the crap, and then took off running toward the end of the tunnel of trees about 75 yards further towards grandma's. Well, when I started running, it came after me. No longer trying to be quiet, and it was crashing through the woods like a freight train, and it was gaining on me. I shot out of the woods seconds later and turned immediately to face my pursuer with my knife in hand under the trees. It was very dark, almost black, but out from under it was dusk, so I could see them coming out of the woods about 15 yards to my left, since I was now going backwards as fast as I could, so I could face my pursuer, which I still thought be a very large, very fast person. At that time, I was a track star with a stack of blue ribbons, so catching up to me running through the pitch black woods seemed almighty odd. As this person came out of the woods, they had slowed down to a walk. When I reached the edge of the woods, and at first glance I thought, what the hell is an 8-foot-tall football player doing chasing people through the woods? The outline was just like a football player, with all their pads and helmet on. And I was actually about to chew them out for scaring the crap out of me and taking the chance of me stabbing them, when it turned into a giant hairy man. No pads, no helmet. He came out into the light, and I could see first that it had glowing yellow/red/orange eyes. And I thought, holy crap, it's an effing demon. But as I watched, still pedaling backwards as he came toward me from the woods, he then stepped up to a bush at the edge of the woods and knelt down behind it and moved the top of his line of sight and moved the top out, knelt down behind it and moved the top out his line of sight to keep watching me. Okay, moved the top, I'm going to guess he meant moved the top out of his line of sight to keep watching me. Now being about 6 foot tall, even kneeling on one knee. Holy shit. Let me read that again. Now being about 6 foot tall, even kneeling on one knee. His upper chest and arms and head were clearly visible, and we locked gazes for about 15 or 20 seconds, which seemed much longer at the time. Everybody, if you're curious, time 15 to 20 seconds, do it. Picture a grizzly bear standing there looking at you, anything. 15 to 20 seconds is a long time when it comes to encounter time with anything. Which seemed much longer at the time. Just as I was going to pass out of his sight behind some trees that lined the dirt road I was on, he let out a long, low growl with a giant huff at the end. I'd come to the conclusion that I had just seen a werewolf, as I had no other frame of reference, and at that time had never heard of Bigfoot or a wood booger. As I later learned, that is what my older relatives from the area called them. Yes, I wondered for a couple of years, why didn't it kill me or turn me into a werewolf too seriously? I had bad dreams. Yes, I wondered for a couple of years why it didn't kill me or turn me into a werewolf too. Seriously, I had bad dreams for years. There's a little bit of lack of punctuation here, okay, guys? I met a fellow who always carried a Magnum handgun legally, and after I got to know him, I asked, why the .44 Magnum? The reality being it was too much gun for self-defense against people, and he told me his Bigfoot story and how the .38s and 9 mils he and his friends had with him at the time of the encounter were not powerful enough to stop the beings they fought with. Bingo. I knew what I believed was a werewolf was a Bigfoot. Whenever I hear that Patty film is why people think they saw Bigfoot, I laugh. I never saw the film until decades after my sighting and didn't even know what a Bigfoot was. Still kind of don't know what it is. As to the government, it's too late. If you actually start to affect any real change, you will be summarily killed / silenced. So good luck with that. Bigfoot is real unless they killed them all, and they should take 10 steps back and get their nose out of our lives. By now, 50 years in the woods, hunting, fishing, camping, seeing bear, brown, black and brown, moose, deer, cougar, wolf, coyote, etc. I saw a Bigfoot, a living being. It even spoke to me. It said, "Stay the F out of my woods at night, a-hole." And so I stayed out of the woods at night, period. And that's the end of the story. All right, listen, man. John, thanks for making that share and sending it to us. And if you are still in contact with those people who claim to have fought with them, with those smaller caliber handguns, and had no effect, if you could, I'm quite sure that everybody would be interested to hear of what that man had experienced too, if that's possible. Although I understand that's quite a while ago. Or if you know anybody who that story may have been passed down to or on to, maybe if you could, and if you're still near them or in contact with them, get a hold of the details of what happened with that fight. Let us know what the outcome was. I guarantee you people are going to be curious. And obviously you know if you've emailed me, you know that you're not alone with what you saw, especially those glowing eyes, right? So many. Thank you for reading my letter. Hello, Steve. So very surprised there, considering your backlog. I figured you would get to it when I was 6 feet under. You missed a little bit when the camera died, but that is okay. I also wanted to bring some balance between "they're all demons and must be eradicated" group and, quote, "they're all harmless fuzzy buddies," end quote, groups. I wanted to go into the alien connection I've learned, but it was already too long, and honestly, I don't think most people are ready for it. But that connection directly addresses what you asked at the end of the video. There's a reason our governments want to take, track, and control these beings. The reason they lurk outside military bases and nuclear facilities. It is their ET connections and knowledge and their paranormal masteries and knowledge of portals. There's a man named Sunbo, French Canadian, that allegedly has had one-on-one connection to these beings over the past 30 plus years. He and Owlman are probably two of the sanest voices on this subject. I got a lot of good feedback from my letter. Although I haven't had a panic attack in 30 years, I was able to help a commenter with that. So thanks. Sorry the damn thing was so long. Blessings, and be safe in Ottawa. The Canadian government may try to pull a January 6th type deal on you all up there. Insert agitators, then blame it on the Patriots. Lauren. Lauren, thank you for that follow-up letter. Appreciate it. Sorry if I missed out on some. You know what happens is when I use the Canon camera, I've got the Sony going right now, when I use the Canon camera, it'll shut off on its own. And then I have to go around to the back of the camera to see if it's still recording, and then it'll say it shut off. And I'm like, ah, shit. And I gotta rewind it and try to listen to it and see where I chopped off. And it really screws me up at times. And I bought that screen that attached to the top of it, and that actually kept it recording straight through non-stop. But my knowledge in the cameras is always gaining. I'll master it perfectly one of these days. And then this camera, I don't know why, this camera will continue to record, but it'll break up the recordings in the memory. And then when I put all of the different clips on the editing program, when clips flips to the next clip, it'll knock out my audio for about 1 second prior to 1 second after the split in the clip. And that's where you guys see me pausing on the audio. It's all freaking frustrating, but I will nail it and perfect it. Hopefully by the time I get this corner set up. Thanks for the follow-up, Lauren. Appreciate it. Alright. Look at that. I'm inside the man cave and a token airplane goes by to annoy me with the background sound. Alright, this is titled, Now I'm Pissed. It's funny when I hear a title like that, I think, oh, here we go, somebody's getting ready to unload on me for not doing what they think I'm doing right or wrong. Steve, I've written to you before, passing my story along, but unfolded over a 35-year span. It's one thing that I've had multiple experiences, missing time and dead dogs, as I've had time to deal with it and come to terms with it. It's another thing when it's my youngest son and my grandson that's not yet 5, but all 100% boy. Now, I'm pissed, and you can use my name as giving a damn is at a point I'm well past now. Scott S. of Southwest Missouri in the Ozark Mountains. Well, I've got to add some more to that story. As you talk, or I've mentioned before how we are marked, in a way as some people keep having experiences or encounters, well, this time on my last sighting with my oldest son, my youngest son, the junior to our middle son by 12 years, so there is a big age gap in between our two oldest and our youngest. Our English bulldog, Gaddy, was very, very protective of our little boy whenever he'd play in the yard or be playing outside as he grew older. Sadly, old Gaddy passed in January 2015, and our new English bulldog, Gigi, what stood for Gaddy's girl, was killed in what I described to you in my original message/mail, along with all my chickens being slaughtered, and the chicken coop door was shut behind him when he was done killing every bird I had. I guess for a bonus, he caved my dog's head in for barking. We live 4 miles from our small town. The county seat of a whopping 3,000 people near a nice-sized creek less than 0.8 of a mile away that runs into a larger creek not far from our home. Well, you know, wherever there is water, the greater the wildlife in that area. That's just how it is. Living things need water. So, since me and my neighbor to the east of us have the only wooded land for over 1.5 miles, we tend to draw white-tailed deer like a magnet and never have a shortage of people asking if they can hunt on us. As has been my family tradition, If your last name does not match the family name, you won't be hunting on any of our property. It's been really, really bad since the new state typical. You'll have the chance to hunt it one day, my friend. Record rifle season for Missouri whitetail was taken on property that joins my now deceased grandfather's farm, which is now my father's and mine's land. Last year, my oldest son, the one that had his first sighting with me at our home, took a nice buck last year that was a 9.151 gross scored buck there, and field dressed, weighed 237 pounds at the butcher's shop. That's a hammer buck. Anyway, my point is that regardless of what property we are speaking of that our family owns, it has great deer all over it. Well, as I said in the title, my youngest son, which took a nice little 4-point buck this year during youth season, has been growing more and more interested in going into the woods to explore, much like I did as a kid growing up, and I encourage him to do so at every chance. He knows of my sightings, but we haven't talked where I go in detail about either sighting. Or the other freaky shit that's happened to me over the last 35 years. I don't want to scare him away from the woods and their beauty for all time. I want to encourage him to explore and be safe while doing it. Today, my 4.5-year-old grandson, which has spent Saturday night with us, went out with his hero and uncle, my 12-year-old son, who was 11 years old at the time of this incident. Today, walking on the mowed paths into the small pastures we have that serve as deer feeding grounds, we have a deer blind in this particular area. As my son and grandson sat quietly in the blind, my son said he could hear something on the side of the blind that had no window, so it's hard to see, and one would need to stick their head out of the window to see around it. He said, "Dad, I saw something black walking on 2 legs, almost like it was watching us. Whenever we were quiet, it was quiet too." As I asked him what it was doing, he said that he could see the 2-legged creature hiding behind a cedar tree with his face covered behind the tree whenever he would look at it. All he had was his handmade Damascus hunting knife I'd made for him from the Christmas prior, and a BB gun. I asked him later before he went to bed and sit and talk with me about what happened today. I asked if he felt sick in any way, like nausea, and he said no. I asked him if he felt or heard any thoughts in his mind while watching the Sabbath. He said, "Dad, I was scared. I felt like he wanted to hurt me and my nephew." I asked him to describe the creature he saw. Quote, "Black with a patch of white under the head and the front of his chest, at least 6 feet tall, if not taller, and a solid 400 pounds or more in weight. The exact one I saw with his brother 6 years earlier, standing just outside our front yard." He then described to me what he decided to do next. He said that as he felt like they might be in danger, he knew he had to protect his nephew. They exited the deer blind, and he told his nephew to run to Papa's and Grandma's house as fast as he could, and he would stay behind to make sure everything was okay. Sound familiar, huh? Just like when I was 12 with my 6-year-old cousin that was present during my first sighting the winter prior as we were in the woods and hearing something walking ever closer, and at a certain point ceased trying to be quiet in its approach towards us. I told my cousin to run, and that I would stay back long enough to give him time to get back to the house. My grandson cried all the way back as he ran. He's since asked me, "Papa, have you seen that black bear man?" Sadly, I know what my youngest son just went through today. They have indeed marked me, and I fear my family along with me. Damn them. I plan to go into the forest around my home and speak to them and state that my child and grandson are off limits, and plan to leave an offering of fruit and such to maybe make a deal. I'll also begin to select a pistol properly suited for my son to begin training with under my supervision, so should he need it, he'd be ready. I don't mind that it's changed my life. It's just how my life's gone. It's okay. However, they've crossed the line if they think they can do what they want to my family, whether watching them or making threatening thoughts and feelings to my son and grandson. I'm not yet 50, but not too old that this old country boy can't still chew the leather if I had to, and it may just come to that. I hope not, for either species' sake. I know I have no chance in a straight-up fight, but by God, he'll know he had a hold of something whenever we get done. He's not seen piss until he's seen an old Missouri Ozark mountains pissed off dad. Either way, both boys made it home safely. I did question him further, and he said it continued to circle the blind from behind them to out in front of them, always remaining behind the cedar trees to partially obscure him. He said it never went down to all four legs. It stood on two legs the whole time he could see it. He did not point him out to my grandson, as he didn't want to scare his little buddy or even hint that they may be in true danger. I've got a pretty good boy, or should I say young man, as he showed some real adult and mature decisions today about himself and his 4-year-old nephew. I guess my son's training will need to begin shortly. It's one thing to teach my son proper gun safety in rifle and pistol. However, having to teach him how to use a pistol correctly and the defensive holds, techniques, and battle movements are another matter entirely, especially overseeing a damn savage. And yes, I'm prior military and know enough to hold my own. Oh, and he told me later, as I had taken a nap late that afternoon, that he went out into our yard and tree knocked and got a very loud response. I told him no more knocking and / or rock clanging or any type of communication with this creature again. I just hope my peace offering gives the desired effect. Wish me luck. Be safe while hunting, and thank you for what you're doing for all the people that have sightings, experiences, or are going through with what I'm going through this moment. I'm not sure if I mentioned when I saw the same Sabe around 7 years ago, I had a thought in my head that I've now come to think mind speak. When me and my oldest son first saw this Sabe, I had, oh shit, I'm just a kid, I'm only 16, flash in my head as loud as if it had been spoken out loud. I don't know. It's a brave and noble cause you're doing, and dangerous, I might add, as the truth often is. You can use my name, but prefer you keep my specific location secret, as we live in a very small populated area, both rural and town-wise, for our country. Thanks, Steve. Scott. Oh my God. Okay, Scott, now I gotta look back and see if I read where you live, and I hope I didn't, and that's the shitty thing that happens sometimes. And I'll read all the way through an email from everybody, and then at the very end you tell me what to leave out, and I don't know if I've already read it, and then I go into the office and the editing program when I get time, throw the card in, extract all the content, and I got 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 stories in there. I don't think I did share. I don't think I did share where you were. Let's hope not. Now, back to what's going on in your property, the children. That's freaking alarming as you know what. And for me, I've always cautioned people in the past, is if you can, don't you have a dog? Is there not a dog there to go with the kids, no matter what? And even if they're going deer hunting or whatever, it's possibly the dog can sit in the blind with them. But I try to hopefully encourage people to make sure they have a damn good family dog, or 2 or 3, when they live rurally and the children are going to go out and play and do what they're going to do, and make it a rule to have those dogs with them. That's what I would possibly be doing. And especially around where I live too. I mean, we got grizzly bears, not right here on the island, but on the mainland where I normally hang out too, there's grizzly bears, lots of cats. Cougars are all over this province, especially on the island, and wolves. And I would obviously encourage all parents to have a damn good dog with their children. And the kids aren't allowed to play on the rural property alone unless those dogs are out there with them. That's just me. And as far as communicating, leaving food, we've been cautioned by a lot of people who have a lot of experience with these beings to not leave them food. If you don't want to have an ongoing relationship with them, connection with them, I don't know, man. I think Scott Carpenter has had good experience with helping people in the same scenario. He's had good results in helping people deal with these beings on their property in the past. So you might want to get a hold of him, all right? And see what he's got to say and give it a go. Possibly before you start leaving food. I wouldn't leave food myself. I made it clear to them, hey man, we're all in this. We're all on this ride together. I just want to have a good, fun, healthy ride, and I want your ride to be fun and healthy for you too. And we don't need to hang out, and we don't need to gift each other things. And I'm still doing all right so far, right? Anyway, I wish you luck and keep those kids safe, please. It makes me sick. It makes me sick to picture two boys of that young age having one of those beings shadowing them and staring at them and somewhat stalking them and hovering over them. That's not a good feeling for me. Dave Pilatus, I'm certain his alarm bells would be screaming if he hears this email as well. All right, so keep those boys safe. Keep them honestly informed of what's going on in the world today, in the real world today, as you are. Keep us posted too, man, all right? Keep us posted. That's nerve-wracking for me, man. What else we got? Here's another one. Man, that one bugs me. It just bugs me picturing because it really bothers me to picture those two young boys running around the woods. One of those things right there. I could have grabbed either one of them anytime I wanted. Not saying that's what they do. I can't confirm yes or no. They grab children. Native communities have all said they have taken children and women in the past. Dave Pilatus knows of how many children have gone missing. Right? So we got to be careful, man. All right, what's this one? This is titled, The World Stopped. Hi Steve, my name is Teresa, I'm 57 years old. When this experience happened, I was around 12. This is not a Bigfoot story, but something strange happened that can't be explained. My cousin and myself were sitting on a bench in our small hometown, close to the only set of traffic lights. It was a beautiful warm summer day. When just as if a switch was flipped and everything stopped. No wind, no birds, no cars, no people, nothing. It went eerily quiet still. We both noticed it at the same time, and it lasted for about 45 seconds, but felt longer. Then, just as if the switch was flipped again, everything returned to normal. We could hear birds and wind, cars and people appeared. It was the strangest thing. Thanks for being you, Teresa. Teresa, thanks for sharing that. I don't think you're the only person that's had that happen. Well, actually, we know you're not the only one. Thank God you're still with us and you didn't lose a couple hours and you're healthy. All right, what else do we got? I'm trying to get back down the bottom of the list, hopefully get to the people who have been waiting a long time. Okay, here we go. Here's another title. Listen to this one. Well, I finally laid eyes on it this morning. This is sent February 3rd. Okay, here's a new one. Weird. Hey Steve, good morning, my friend. I wrote you a couple days ago. I've had a few experiences with the people of the woods. I heard that name by one of the stories you read. And I like that because I think most of us are ignorant about them. It's been my experience that humans seem to demonize what they don't understand, but I do not know enough to say. They definitely have the ability to instill absolute fear and terror. Well, I've been in the woods quite a bit since. I had my experience here at the sanctuary. I told you about speaking out loud to the being. One of the things I said was, "You scare the hell out of me and please don't do that to me." Well, this morning the weather was really bad and I had some business to handle early, so I didn't go in the woods. After handling my business, I took my dogs for a ride. They love it. Back roads. It helps me to sometimes center my thoughts, kind of like meditation. We're almost home and turned off the main road and onto the road I live off of, and there it was right in front of me, crossing the road into a tall stand of river cane into the woods. The trail it took is huge. I've never seen it before, like a four-wheeler trail. It was black and had longer hair than the one I'd seen when I was young. But I felt no fear, just kind of like matter of fact. It was also much larger than the other one. I want to go check out the trail, but haven't worked up the courage to go into that part of the woods where I went. I don't know if that's good or bad. I want I want to go so bad. I know you don't care much about tree formations, but there's one right behind my house that looks like where a tornado almost touched down. A perfect circle of small trees in a spiral, about 15 to 20 yards around. Trees about 2 to 3 inches around. Maybe someone will know what this means. Thank you for all you do, my friend. I'll send more experiences in the future. Scott Van Sand, Southern Mississippi. Scott, be safe. That's all I can say is be safe. They definitely know you know. They know you know about them without a doubt. Okay, I gotta start scrolling way down to get to the bottom. I never get to the bottom of the list. What do we got? All right, here we go. Title, Strange Experience. Mark it as red. Hi Steve, thank you. I really love and appreciate what you're doing. I watch you on YouTube and look forward to every new video. I'm 65 years old, live in Oregon. I love the woods and I'm not afraid to go in alone. My story, however, has nothing to do with Saturday, who I've never encountered, never want to. I have other stories to share about paranormal things I've experienced, but those things are for another email. All right? Right now, I'm looking for some answers. In '79, I spent the night at a friend's apartment in Southern California. I woke up early the next morning, face down, spread eagle. Oh, I got an itchy nose. Experiencing a terror unequal to this day. I was literally vibrating from the back of my head all the way down my spine as if I were plugged into an electrical outlet. I couldn't breathe or move and don't know how long I was suspended that way. I thought, intruder, and expected a serial killer to walk in at any moment, but nothing happened. Slowly the vibration and fear subsided and I was able to get up and look around. Nothing. I was young. I shook it off and told myself it was my spidey senses and forget about it, not realizing that it would lead to a lifetime of health issues. I'm not a fearful person. I've been in a few truly hair-raising situations in my day, and all of them put together can't equal the sheer terror of that morning. Looking back, I don't believe it was a natural event. I'm curious to know if anyone else has had a similar experience, and if so, what followed it. As unsettling as my story is, what I'm living through is much more disturbing, and I believe the two are somehow connected. I'm trying to make sense of it, but something is really wrong. I am the subject of targeting and harassment for over 20 years now that I know of. I've experienced gaslighting, break-ins, theft, and vandalism in my home, vehicles, mail, and at least one phone tap. Torture with DEW, direct energy weapons, and V2K. Yes, they are real. Toxic chemicals, sleep deprivation, and the list goes on. My experience reads like the gang stalker's handbook I found online. Other info I found online says it's about trauma-based mind control. Realizing I'm not just batshit crazy has been a blessing and a curse. But I knew for a long time things weren't adding up. My life has been threatened repeatedly for talking about it, as I am followed and watched continuously. At least one attempt has been made since preparing to pursue a stalking order on one of the perps. The stalkers tell me via V2K that I've been condemned to death and that they are the government. BS. If it were true, though, it would explain a few things, wouldn't it? I'm literally nobody in the eyes of the world and possess nothing anybody would want except my faith in Jesus. I'm not a criminal or a political. I don't believe in government anymore, and this is just the first time I've spoken up publicly about any of it. Anyway, I know how this sounds, but it's true, all of it. After researching the subject, I have reason to believe this whole thing may have started back on that terrible morning. I just don't know where to connect the dots. Thanks again, Steve. Stay strong and hold up for the people as long as you can. You can use my name if you like. P.S. I'll understand if you don't read this on your video. It's pretty off topic, among other things. Sincerely, Susie. Susie, you're right. It's definitely off topic. It's new to me. But I don't know who you are. and you want help, and this isn't a bad place to start to try to find it. So I'm sharing it, and if anybody has anything similar, has experienced anything similar, well, maybe possibly comment about this in the comment section below this video. All right, there you go, Susie. I hope things work out for you. I mean, I have no knowledge of what you're experiencing. I don't even know what V2K is. I'm sure I'll Google it later. Be safe out there. You come up with anything solid, let us know. All right, what do we got here? This is a screenshot of a comment from possibly from, this is red. It's a screenshot of a comment from the channel on YouTube, all right? I'd like get that big enough to read. Oh, there we go. That helps a bit here. Steve, my name is Steve Adams, and I've had an experience with Sasquatch in the North Georgia mountains in Cohutta Management Area. The beast caught a doe and killed it with ease. I was in a deer stand about 15 feet in the tree, and after killing the doe, it started walking towards me. It walked about 10 feet and stopped, looking straight up at me. If this stare could kill, I would be dead. He then opened his mouth and let out a loud scream. I remember seeing his canine teeth very distinctly. He then turned slightly and started moving up the ridge, carrying the doe like we would carry a small duffel bag. I watched him walk over the ridge and heard him scream once again. I sat in the stand for at least 2 hours, afraid he would be waiting for me, because somehow his stare and scream seemed to be letting me know he did not want me here. I now live in Florida, and I'm trying to get a group together to start doing more research on the Florida species known as the skunk ape. I've started a channel, FBRT, Florida Bigfoot Research Team, and hope to get a few people interested enough to discuss the subject and even maybe go on an expedition to the Ocala Forest or Everglades to camp and research the skunk ape. Ever since my experience in 2009, I've been doing my own research, and I'd love to get together with a few people in Florida to discuss and compare thoughts and experiences. I wish you more success and hope you stay safe. If you have any ideas on how I could get my channel up and going, I'd appreciate any advice, and thanks again, Steve Adams. Steve, I don't know, man. I'm not a professional in getting any page up and going. What I do feel I could share with you is to stay away from the bullshit and don't mimic anybody. Don't copy people. If you got a message to share, be honest and share it. And as far as getting a group together to go investigate the Florida skunk ape, I have a feeling there's probably dozens and dozens and dozens of them going at it right now already, I think. I don't know for sure, but I would be surprised. It's a very common occurrence in that state. Now, okay, I'm at the bottom, working my way up, finding people have been missed. I hate it. I can't stand missing people's emails. I hate it. You know, people go out of their way to type out a long, lengthy email to share with all of us, and it just really sucks to think that it gets missed. Especially first-timers too, right? I mean, people who are sharing for the very first time to get something off their chest or need help. All right, here's another one called The Grass Man and The Garbage Man. You can use my name, Ernie Engel, Arizona. Steve, I want to thank you and your viewers to the opening of my eyes to the forest people. I was born in Ohio and grew up hunting, camping, and fishing family. I did not have any experience with the forest people until moving to the Southwest. Growing up, I heard many stories of the Ohio Grass Man and Eastern Ohio and the 1970s Garbage Man who roamed Central Ohio. In 1997, I moved to New Mexico and continued my outdoor activities to include backpacking and day hiking. While living in Albuquerque, I made several day hikes to Manzano Mountains, part of the Cibola National Forest. On this day, I was hiking the Bosque Trail, B-O-S-Q-U-E, Trail, Bosque Trail, at 8,063 feet, with a climb to the Crest Trail at 9,400. On top, I visited the Ria Formwalt Homestead Ruins. At the ruins, the weather turned abruptly from a sunny day, quite pleasant, to high winds and what appeared to be a storm front moving in. Due to the weather, I started down the same trail that I hiked up back to my car. As I hiked down the trail, I started to become confused and disoriented. I was not recognizing the trail I just hiked up. I felt a complete feeling of fear, then terror. I had to get out of the area. I started to run off the trail into a heavily wooded area, sloping almost vertical. I knew I had to get to my car. After several minutes, I regained my bearings and quickly returned to the trail and to my car. I never went back to the area. Shortly after the incident, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona, fall of '97. I continued to backpack and hike. I was doing a solo backpacking trip into the Superstition Mountains east of Phoenix. I had completed the trip and was hiking out the Peters Canyon Trail, approximately 3 miles to the trailhead, elevation 34 to 3,800 feet. As I entered the canyon, I had this growing feeling of being watched, and as I continued through the canyon, as this feeling grew, I saw no one. The feeling grew too. I need to get out of the canyon ASAP. As I neared the trailhead and my truck, the feeling and need to leave the area diminished. A friend and I were practicing overnight camping for a group hike into the Grand Canyon. My friend had no backpacking experience, and I was trying to help prepare him for the group hike. This was May of '82. We traveled to Sedona, Arizona, to a campsite I had camped at many times solo. The site was in the secret mountain wilderness up the Loy Canyon Trail to trail number 109 at an elevation of 6,572. We arrived late afternoon, set up camp, and gathered firewood. With the fire going, we started dinner, and it was starting to get dark. We piled on the wood. It was a moonless night with no visibility into the surrounding forest beyond the light of the fire. This was an important note to keep in mind. We were sitting across from each other, shooting the breeze, beer in hands. It was around 9:30 p.m. Another key note is I was armed with a sidearm. The night was pitch black. Behind me I heard what I could only describe as a freight train heading straight at us, limbs breaking and the noise of 2 stomping feet, not 4. As it got closer, the earth felt as if it was moving with each stomp. I stood up and moved to the far side of the fire where my friend stood. Whatever this was, I wanted the fire between us. I drew my sidearm, waiting for it to break into the light of the fire, and just at that moment it would appear nothing. All noise stopped. No retreat, or whatever it was, silence. No other occurrences the rest of the night. In the morning I searched the area where this thing came through. No broken branches, no disturbed foliage, and no footprints. August 2020, I drove from Phoenix, Arizona to Jackson, Ohio, located in southeast Ohio, part of the Wayne National Forest. I was there to help my cousin work on his one-room house and would be there for a month. He lived on a 5-mile road approximately 10 miles from the town of Jackson, Ohio, on a lot he purchased of 2 acres. This was Amish country and heavily wooded at 250 feet in elevation. I pulled my off-road trailer, which was 6 feet in height, with a 2-man tent mounted on the top. Being August in Ohio, it was just in the 90s during the day and high 70s at night. I was camped about 30 feet from the front door of the house. Due to the temperature at night, my cousin slept with the front door open and his bed close to the door. I'd been there several weeks when one night I was awoke instantly, sitting up, grabbed my watch, and saw it was 1 a.m. Off in the distance, I could hear the farmer's dogs raising hell. Other than that, it was dead silence, no night sounds. What I heard next, again, I was 6 to 7 feet off the ground in the tent with flaps open, was a guttural, deep growl lasting 10 to 15 seconds, followed by another growl lasting the same. That'd be shitty and crazy to hear anything growl for 15 seconds. Steve, this growl was right next to my camper. I grabbed a flashlight and saw nothing around the camper. Remember, my cousin sleeps with the front door open, and when I asked him the next day if he had heard anything, he said no. Steve, this happened again the next night. Awakened instantly from a deep sleep, dogs raising hell, 1 a.m., and 2 guttural growls, and then silence. The rest of the time I spent there, nothing occurred. Steve, I feel that once contact is made with the forest people, that contact remains no matter where you travel, and as you pointed out, you know when they are around. I want to thank you and David Plottis for opening my eyes and realizing what these encounters are, the forest people. Keep up the great work. The truth will set us free. Ernie Engel, Arizona. Thanks, Ernie. I don't know, I think if that ever happens again, I always thought that if I was going to go somewhere and I was going to be possibly with people that I may be worried about or overprotective of, I would just surround the camp with trail cameras facing out. You know? It'd be interesting for you to set up that exact same scenario, camp on top of that camper in the same place, and maybe put a trail camera on each side and each end of the trailer maybe, and see if that stops the growls from coming at night. Probably not, but you never know, right? Okay. Who else? It's going to be a long one. All right, here we go. I'm going in. Marks it red. Mark it as red. I'm tired. I got to go here pretty quick. Well, Steve, you read this email. It should be long enough for an entire show, LOL. My name is Jason Mitchell, and you can use it because I'm like you. Don't have the time for bullshit. My experience with these different beings is more or less on and off my entire life. I grew up in a small town in southwest Tennessee called Finger. Yes, it is a real town, LOL. I lived on a road called Center Hill Road, and they named it that, I suppose, because of the 2-mile roller coaster of hills that are very tall and very deep. The hills were anywhere from 500 to 1,000 feet from valley to ridge, and there were about 7 in a straight line that were dirt and gravel until I was 20 years old. And they finally put that tar and limestone on it and cut the hills down so people wouldn't flip their vehicle jumping them. Anyways, with that said, I lived in the deepest valley on the road and grew up there. I loved the woods, and all I had to do was walk out of the yard and I was in them. I can remember being 8 years old, having my first experience with these creatures. I was hiding from my mother behind the barn, playing with my wiener dog, Daisy May, and I felt something watching me. I wasn't scared at all, but there was no doubt in my mind something was there. And at this moment, I heard my mother come outside and called me to check on me, which was strange because she didn't worry about me being outside normally. My parents divorced, and my mother and I moved into my grandparents, and my grandfather raised me. Being a World War II and Korean War vet, scout, and tracker, I was shooting rabbits out of the brush fires with a .22 by the time I was 5. I loved to hunt and fish and swim just like any country boy does. My next experience was when I was 13, and I was walking down the gravel hill back to my house from my friend's house when every hair on my body stood up. Keep in mind, I could walk from my house a quarter mile to my best friend's house and be in the shade most of the walk at 12 noon. This is the country. The trees grew over the road from both sides, providing shade. God, I miss those days. Anyways, when my hair stood up, I stopped fast to listen, and I heard 2 steps. I start walking again, and again stopped abruptly, and I heard 2 more steps. Chish, chish in the leaves, when something in my head said, run. So I took off as fast as I could, never running that fast before or since, all the way inside the house. Fast forward to 93. I was 16 years old, and I pulled up in the driveway, and we had a field full of northern pines to the right. And I turned my truck off, and the top of one of the pines shook violently. And something was falling and scratching to hold on, but it hit every branch down, and it hit the ground with a thud of something that was very heavy. But I honestly believe it was one of the beings and had cloaked itself because it was 3 in the afternoon and I could see clearly, and I could only count 3 steps as it ran into the woods. Nothing that big in southwest Tennessee, not supposed to be. We don't have bears, and I would have seen it if it was. Fast forward again. I had my babysitter on the back of my Honda 354 tracks, and we were coming back to the house when I looked right beside me, and there was a blue glowing orb in arm's reach, about the size of a soccer ball. I told my sister to look, and she squeezed me, saying, "What is it, Bubba?" I said, I don't know, baby, it stayed right beside me at 50 miles per hour. When we were coming up on the end of the field, it made a 90-degree turn in front of the trees to the back of the field, then 90-degree up the trees, and another 90-degree over them without ever losing momentum or slowing down. I've never seen anything move that fast that way. At this there were nights when I would be outside and something would tell me in my head, get inside fast or you'll be hurt. I've coon hunted and loved the woods and I'm not afraid of the dark, but this wasn't just one time. This happened well over 100 times. Or better there for a while, and I could feel something staring at me with hate from behind the shop 40 yards away. Anyways, one night I was in my room and I turned the light out to go to bed, and outside my window in the middle of the yard, about 10 to 15 feet in the air, were two of these orbs. One was moving straight up and down in about 5 to 6 foot distance, like the one I saw before it did not lose momentum. It was up and down in about 1 second intervals, and the other orb was going in circles around it. But the circles were like exactly twice as fast, like for every up the one orb made, the other orb made 2 revolutions around it. It freaked me out, so I called for my mother to come into the bedroom, and I told her not to freak out. Oh, hold on. It freaked out. So I called for my mother to come in the bedroom, and I told her not to freak out, and she agreed, and I turned the light back off, and she looked, and her eyes got big, and she said, "What are they, son?" I said, "I don't know, Mama, but I need you to see what me and Sissy were talking about in the four-wheeler because we were young and smoked pot on occasion. But I had to have a witness. I live in the Hatchie River bottom now, and it's about 5 miles of gravel and dirt to get to the river, to the backside boat ramp. And August 1st, 2021, my son and I are alone at the river fishing. I was fishing with a ribeye steak that I didn't eat hardly any of because my neighbor grilled them and put barbecue sauce on them, and I didn't eat much of it. I mean, who screws up a good steak with barbecue sauce? Anyways, I've been hearing whoops and tree snaps quite a bit from time to time. And that night, about 10 feet to my left, was a loud snap. My hair stood up as it was answered by a whoop coming from the woods on the right, and there were rocks being thrown in the river or across the river, so there were at least 3 beings there. Well, my son and I agreed it was time to leave, and so I took what was left of the steak and left it on a flat rock in the boat ramp. We loaded up and left and made it about a mile to the next creek, and I said, let's go back and see if the steak's going. We did, and it was. So, could have been a coyote or coon possibly that couldn't be disproven. So we had some Oreo double-stuffed cookies, and I had my son put 2 on the rock, and we pulled up about 20 yards just out of the cove and stopped, and we were trying to watch it, but it was too dark. But it had started sprinkling rain and lightning. On the second lightning strike, we saw it on all 4s, reaching from the tree line out for the cookies, and we both couldn't believe what we saw. So I said, drive back down and check the cookies. We did, no cookies. This is when we looked up, and across the river was a huge figure standing well over 10 feet tall, shifting its weight back and forth just like a chimpanzee does when it's standing looking at something. But this was huge. The one that took the cookies was at least 4 feet on its knees reaching out, but this guy dwarfed it. This was the daddy, and somehow he let us know it. Anyways, thanks for all you do, and I hope you can share this with the people that are awake, and for those that aren't, that need to be. These are mystical, and I dare say magical beings that are way ahead of us in so many ways. Now every time we go fishing, we take an offering and leave it on the rock so that they won't bring anything negative to our time. Keep doing what you do, and hopefully we will get the answers we're all looking for. Sincerely yours, Jason Mitchell. Jason, thanks for that share, man. A being over 10 feet tall, shifting its weight back and forth. How many times has that been mentioned now? 5,000? I don't know what shifting in their weight's got, why they shift their weight back and forth, but man, oh man, how many times has that been seen from everybody under the frickin' sun? A lot. I don't know if the, when they sway side by side, is that something is that a little bit of an anxiety they're having, or is it just that blatant, look at me now thing? I don't know, I haven't a clue, man. Somebody knows for sure. Anyway, I gotta go in. That was enough for me today. I think I had 4 trees get blown over from the snow, crushed the fence, and landed in the next door neighbor's hayfield. So I got all that bucked up and thrown back over to my side of the fence, fixed the fence. And there was another 2 more trees over the fence farther up, and I got those chopped out. And then my buddy came over, and I think he dropped about 20 different trees, a lot of rotten ones and nasty ones. And then I had to limb all those and started grabbing all the limbs. I made about an 8-foot tall pile of limbs and lit that one up. And then I grabbed all the limbs on the outside that weren't burnt and piled them up after I went down to the river and made a video for yesterday. And then I did this just now. So it is now time for me to go in. I am done like dinner. And I gotta continue to make plans for the upcoming road trip. And I also have people coming tomorrow. Very informed, very educated, very aware people. I can't wait to speak with them tomorrow here, and then carry on making plans to get across the country to help make a difference. There you go. Share my story at howtohunt.com or tell my story at howtohunt.com. Get your knowledge into me if you want to share it with the world, or if you need to get something off your chest or you need help, then you have found the right place, all right? Here we go. On the move I go. This is a beauty!